Alex turned the key. The W16 fired on the first crank.
Whoa, it's starting on! It sounds pretty good. It sounds good. It's starting on back. It sounds good, yeah.
The Bugatti Chiron moved forward under its own power for the first time since the crash, 8 months after work began, 8 months after Bugatti said it couldn't be done. And then Matt parked it back in the garage. Because running and road legal are two completely different things. And the journey from one to the other, for a salvage title Bugatti Chiron rebuilt without any manufacturer support, is longer, more expensive, and more complicated than almost anyone watching this rebuild has stopped to consider. Today, we're going to walk through exactly what has to happen before this car can legally drive on a public road. What the process involves, what it costs, how long it takes, and the one obstacle that Bugatti still controls, even now that the car runs. The legal requirements for returning a rebuilt salvage vehicle to the road vary by country, and in the United States they vary by state. But for this car, the relevant jurisdiction may be the United Kingdom, where this Chiron will most likely be registered. So that's where we'll focus, and it turns out the UK is actually the right place to focus regardless, because the UK's individual vehicle approval process, the IVA, is one of the most rigorous roadworthiness certification systems in the world. If this Bugatti can pass IV, it can be registered virtually anywhere. When the Chiron left the factory, it carried full type approval, the manufacturer's certification that the vehicle meets all required safety, emissions, and construction standards. When it crashed, that approval didn't disappear. The damage was physical. The certification remained. What changed the situation was the salvage title. A salvage title is issued when an insurance company declares a vehicle a total loss, meaning the cost of repair exceeds what the car is worth to them. It's a financial designation, but it carries serious legal consequences. A salvage title vehicle that has been repaired cannot simply be re-registered and driven. It must be inspected. The repairs must be verified. New roadworthiness certification must be issued before it can go back on the road. For a standard car, that process is relatively manageable. For a Bugatti Chiron rebuilt without manufacturer involvement, using custom components, with a structurally repaired gearbox bracket, it's a different challenge entirely. The individual vehicle approval test is administered by the driver and vehicle licensing agency. It is not a driving test. It is not an MOT. It is a detailed, physical inspection of the vehicle against a comprehensive checklist of construction and safety standards, assessing whether the car, as it sits in front of the inspector, meets every requirement for road use. The IVA checklist covers brakes, steering, lighting, glazing, seatbelts, emissions, noise levels, and structural integrity, among other things. For a standard rebuilt car, most of those checks are straightforward. Factory components, factory spec, inspector verifies it. For this Chiron, 3 areas will face specific scrutiny. The first is the gearbox mounting bracket, the component that was repaired rather than replaced. A welded repair on a structurally critical part isn't automatically a problem, but it requires documentation. The inspector will need evidence of the repair process and confidence that the finished result meets the structural standard. Matt's meticulous recording of the rebuild, every step, every decision, is no longer just content. It's an evidence pack. The second is the exhaust system. The factory exhaust was replaced with a custom Valvetronic unit. That means noise and emissions testing will determine whether the modified system keeps the car within legal limits. The secondary catalytic converters were also removed during the rebuild, with the primary cats remaining. Whether that configuration satisfies current UK emission standards for a vehicle of this age and specification is a very specific technical question, and one that needs a definitive answer before the inspection. The third is the overall structural repair itself. The rejoining of front and rear sections, the torque specifications applied, the replacement components used. The inspector will assess whether the rebuild meets the construction standards the car is required to satisfy. This is the most subjective area of the 3, and the one where thorough documentation matters most. Before the IVA can even be applied for, there's another obstacle: insurance. In the UK, a vehicle must be insured to be driven to an IVA test. and ensuring a salvage title Bugatti Chiron, independently rebuilt, fitted with custom components, carrying no valid type approval, is not something any standard insurer will touch. Normal underwriting models flag every single characteristic of this car as a problem. Salvage title, no manufacturer certification, custom exhaust, independent builder. Each one alone would trigger caution. Together, they effectively make the car uninsurable through conventional channels. Specialist insurance does exist. Lloyd's of London syndicates and dedicated modified vehicle underwriters understand salvage rebuilds and can structure policies around them. But the premiums on a vehicle worth several £1,000,000 in this condition will not be modest, and the underwriter will have serious questions before agreeing to anything. This is where Matt's documentation becomes valuable for the second time. The photography, the parts records, the assembly sequence, the detailed video record of every stage of the rebuild, all of it now serves as the evidence package an underwriter needs to assess the risk. The rebuild that was documented for YouTube is simultaneously the insurance submission. Every part Matt filmed is doing double duty. Here is where it gets complicated in a way that goes beyond paperwork and premiums. The Chiron's body control module, the BCM, recorded the crash. It is currently in a post-crash state, which means certain vehicle systems are restricted, certain functions are limited, and active fault codes are present throughout the car. The car starts. It runs. But it is operating in a degraded mode that reflects the fact that it knows it was in a serious accident and has never been officially cleared since. For an IVA inspection, that is a failure condition. The inspector needs to see the vehicle operating correctly, systems functioning as designed, no active fault codes restricting normal operation. A car presenting with crash state fault codes throughout its control systems will not pass. Clearing those fault codes requires a BCM reset. And a BCM reset requires Bugatti's proprietary diagnostic software that exists only on computers inside their authorized service network. There is no aftermarket tool that can perform this specific reset on a Chiron BCM. It cannot be done independently. It cannot be worked around. Bugatti, who have declined to support this rebuild at every stage, have given no indication they will assist with this. And so we arrive at the uncomfortable reality. The car is physically complete. Every mechanical argument Bugatti made has been answered. Every part they refused to sell was sourced another way. Every obstacle they placed was overcome. The engine runs. The gearbox works. The rebuild is done. But before this car can pass IVA, before it can be insured, before it can be registered and legally driven on a public road, someone needs to connect a Bugatti diagnostic computer and clear the post-crash fault codes. That person works for Bugatti or for an authorized Bugatti dealer. Whether that cooperation will come quietly, a dealer performing the reset without requiring official Bugatti endorsement, or whether it will be refused, leaving the car permanently garage-bound despite the rebuild being complete, that is the last question this project has to answer. And it is not a question Matt can answer on his own. The rebuild proved that an independent builder can physically reassemble a Bugatti Chiron. That question has been settled. But the road legal process reveals something that goes beyond parts and fabrication. Physical capability is not the only barrier manufacturers can use. There are structural features built into the regulatory and insurance environment that create manufacturer dependency at specific points, and those features don't require any active effort to maintain. IVA requires emissions data that traces back to factory specifications. Insurance underwriting requires documented repair standards. BCM resets require proprietary software. None of these are the same as refusing to sell a spare part. Bugatti doesn't need to block anything now. They don't need to refuse a single request. They simply need to do nothing. And the legal and regulatory infrastructure does the rest. This is where the right to repair conversation is heading. Not just access to parts. Not just access to documentation. Access to the regulatory frameworks and software systems that manufacturers have quietly embedded into the process of returning a repaired vehicle to service. The ability to physically fix something is only part of the problem. The ability to legally use it afterwards is the other part, and that second part still belongs to the manufacturer. The Bugatti Chiron starts. The W16 runs. The rebuild is complete, and the car cannot leave the garage. IVA test required. Insurance arranged. BCM reset needed. Emissions verified. Structural repairs documented for inspection. Every one of those steps is achievable. None of them are impossible, but every one of them requires navigating a process made significantly more complex by the salvage title, the modified components, and Bugatti's silence. And one of them still requires Bugatti's cooperation. Whether they give it is the one question this rebuild cannot answer on its own.